You're listening to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast, your podcast for escaping life's monotony, indulging in your wildest travel fantasies, and discovering the constant beauty of this ever-changing world. On this week's episode, Allie and Regan walk through each continent and all the destinations they have covered in the past 3 seasons. Welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We are your navigators, Allison
and Regan. Welcome to another episode of the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to have like a guest or anything. It's just going to be the two of us, me and Allie. But we're heading on a little bit of a summer break. We are both doing some traveling this summer that we will report back on later this summer/fall, so stay tuned. But while we do that, we wanted to leave you with one more episode where it's kind of going to function as our Wanderlusting Wives link tree. We're just going to kind of go through all of the destinations and topics that we've talked about here over 3 seasons at Wanderlusting Wives, and it's going to be great. Listen along, make some notes, like save some episodes for your summer travels, because we know that this is a great time to travel, and we're just going to talk through everything and give you a really good snapshot of everything you can hear on our podcast. But before we get to that, Allie, go ahead and plug away, as always, at our social media.
Yeah, you can find us on most social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram at Wanderlusting Wives, Facebook, Wanderlusting Wives Podcast, X or Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days. That's at Wanderlust Wives. We also have an email if you're interested in getting a hold of us, giving us feedback. If you want to be a guest on our podcast, feel free to reach out to us via email. That's wanderlustingwives@gmail.com. And then something new that I have yet to plug, so this is exciting. We are using Podmatch, which some of you may have heard of before if you're in the podcast community or if you like being on podcasts. This site is for you. So we have met some of our guests through Podmatch, and they have been amazing. So if you're a podcaster or you would like to be on podcasts, Podmatch is a great tool for you. We'll share a link down below for this episode with more information, but basically you sign up. If you are a podcast host, you can pay as little as $6 a month, and you get paid to have guests on your podcast. And if you're a podcast guest, you can pay as little as $29 a month, and you too can also get paid for being a guest on other podcasts. So it's a little give and take. Like I said, we've had some amazing guests from Podmatch, so if you're interested in that, we'll leave a link down below.
Yeah, Podmatch has been awesome. Allie found it for us, and so shout out to Allie for really plugging that for us, but also getting it set up. So many of our amazing guests have been through there, so yeah, you have Podmatch to thank. But yeah, Podmatch has been great, and we can't wait to meet you if you want to be a guest. So without further ado, we're going to get right on to our Wanderlusting Wives link tree. And we're going to kind of go by continent because we've covered so much ground in the past 3 seasons, 3 years. It's been incredible. So we're going to start with North America. And if you're interested in an episode that is kind of a cross-country trip of North America, all the way from New York to Arizona and stops all the way in between, go ahead and check out Season 1, Episode 7. You'll get so much information on some national parks, some routes you might want to take, some special stops along the way. So yeah, go ahead and check that out.
Next up, we have the one and only Disney World. So people say it's the happiest place on earth. I think whoever listening to this podcast is the happiest place on earth, but we can have different opinions. But we have a ton of episodes on Disney. So we have Season 1, Episodes 9 and 10 have a ton of information. Regan's siblings make a little bit of an appearance too, so that was really fun. And then Season 3, Episodes 11 and 12, we have Rachel who joined us, who is an expert on all things Disney. So we did a 2-part series with her recently, if you're interested in checking out all things Disney World.
Next, we have Cape Cod, everybody's favorite New England destination, and there's a lot of nuances when it comes to Cape Cod, when it comes to timing your trip just right, finding the best place to stay in this most dreamy location. So if you're interested in Cape Cod, that would be Season 1, Episode 18.
Next, we have Banff. And this one's really cool. This is our very first guest in season 1. So that was just like, oh my gosh, I think we've made it. We've had someone reach out to us. So this is a cool episode because Banff is always on my mind, especially after that episode. It's becoming all over Instagram too, so they're targeting me, but that's okay. If you're interested in more information on Banff, that is season 1, episode 19.
I'm going to go listen to that episode again just because I'm dreaming of it. So I suggest you do the same. Next up, we have a destination that everybody all over the world, I think, is interested in, New York City, Manhattan, the Big Apple, Gotham, whatever you want to call it. We have a 2-part series on this beautiful, smelly, incredible, confusing city. That will be season 1, episodes 20 and 21.
Going along with the New York City episode, as fellow Western New Yorkers, we felt like New York City is always getting all of the attention, but there's so much more to New York State other than just New York City. So we try to hit on a bunch of different regions in New York, like things to do in the Adirondacks or Buffalo or the Finger Lakes. So if you're looking for things to do in New York State that's outside of New York City, you can check out season 1, episode 22.
And then staying with this kind of like beautiful kind of upstate backcountry kind of feel, we do an entire episode on the United States national parks. There are so many incredible options. We talk about Kenai Fjords up in Alaska, all the way to Hot Springs in Arkansas, to the Everglades in Florida. So if you're interested in anything like that, you're going on a road trip with your family or anything, check out season 1, episode 24.
Keeping with the theme of the United States and feeling like patriotism, enjoying the beauty of our country, we have Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and that is season 1, episode 26.
And then we have Hawaii, a mystical and mythical land across the pond to the west, not to the east. We have 2 episodes on Hawaii if you're interested in learning more about what you can do over on those islands. We have season 1, episode 28, and season 2, episode 19.
And this is kind of a random one. I'm thinking, wait, we already have national parks, but we have specifically Yellowstone. We had a guest who was specifically passionate about that national park, so we have a whole entire episode on that, which is season 2, episode 25.
And rounding out North America, we have a few episodes on RV life, which since COVID happened has just kind of exploded. It's been really popular. So we have 2 different episodes on this. We have season 2, episode 33 with Tyler and Grace Witkowski. And then we have season 3, episode 3 with Kate O'Phelan, so Tyler and Grace are a couple traveling with dogs, and they have like a publishing company. And then Kate is traveling with her family, and they have made that their full-time life, their road schooling. So there are a couple of different angles, just depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah, so that's North America. We have a ton of different locations, from Disney to New York City to national parks to Hawaii to RV life. So there's something for everyone in North America. But moving down to South America, our list's a little bit shorter for this one. But starting strong with Bolivia, this is actually an episode that I did all about my experience in Bolivia. This was a really fun episode to reflect on. And if you're looking for more information on that, it is in season 1, episode 8.
And then we have the destination that I think has been added to almost everybody's bucket list since hearing this episode, on the Galapagos Islands. And we had an incredible guest, Fernando Diaz, come on and talk all about this incredible little, I don't know, just like mystical, I guess, location. And if you're interested in checking that out, go to season 3, episode 4.
That's it for South America. So if you've been to South America or even Central America, I know it's not necessarily a continent itself, but if you've been to those regions and would love to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. We'd like to have some more diversity and cover more of South America. But moving along here with the next continent, Europe. This is probably our second most popular one. It seems like a lot of Westerners go to Europe, so in turn, we have a lot of episodes on that. But starting off strong with one of our favorite countries is Iceland. Regan and I actually did a two-part series on this because we are just so passionate about Iceland and our experience in Iceland. So you can find that in season 1, episodes 4 and 5.
And then another location people are really interested in, especially if you're planning like a summer trip, I know that this is a huge summer destination, is Italy. And we had one of my friends, Juliana Joyce, join us for an amazing episode talking about all things Italy. She's of Italian descent, so that was really interesting too. You can go to season 1, episode 6.
Keeping with the I theme of countries here, we're moving down to Ireland. Iceland, Italy, Ireland. And Regan actually covered this country for us based on her experience traveling there with her family. So she has a lot of great tips and places to visit while you're in Ireland if you're interested in that. This is season 1, episode 11.
And moving away from the I countries, we're going to go to France. And we actually have 2 episodes on France. And both episodes kind of tackle different regions of France. The first episode, which was season 1, episode 12, covered more like you got some Paris. What other locations were in that one, Allie?
I think we also touched on Normandy, Mount St. Michel, more of
Yeah.
the hot spots.
The second episode on France is season 2, episode 31, and we talk about Alsace and like wine regions in France. There were some bird sanctuaries, things like that. So we cover a few different areas in France. That's season 1, episode 12, and season 2, episode 31.
Yeah, if I can recommend any of the France episodes, definitely the second one, in my opinion, just because it's so different than the usual let's go to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower and go to the Mona Lisa. Like, that is still very great, but it's really unique that we got that perspective of Alsace because I had never heard of that before. So if you're looking for maybe off the beaten path or a unique experience, definitely check out season 2, episode 31 on France. The season 1, episode 12 is great too, but just if you're looking for something more unique. But moving on from France, we have Sweden. I actually talked about this in my experience traveling through Sweden through my college experience and getting to see the public school system and how that is different here from the United States. So if you're interested in education or just Sweden, it's not the whole entire thing's not all about education, but there is more of the education system talked about compared to other episodes. So that is season 1, episode 23.
And then we have one of our kind of topics / destinations that's been really popular and interesting has been the Camino de Santiago. And we've had 2 people come on to our podcast to talk about this. We had Kathleen come on, season 2, episode 27. And then we had Kirsten come on, season 3, episode 6. And both experiences were very different, as you can imagine. Like, this is a very like spiritual kind of pilgrimage that people travel far and wide. And Kirsten, in the second episode, which would have been season 3, episode 6, even did as much as getting to the Camino via a transatlantic cruise. So there's a lot of really great information if that's of interest to you in season 2, episode 27 and season 3, episode 6.
Yeah, kind of in that general area is Spain, so you can walk some of the Camino de Santiago in Spain, but we have Spain-specific episodes based on my experiences traveling to Spain. And then we also had Emma Sorkin come on, and she talked about living and teaching in Spain, so that was a really cool episode if you're interested in that. So my episode was season 2, episode 35. And then Emma's about living in Spain and teaching in Spain is season 3, episode 9.
And then we have an episode on London. I just went to London this year and I share all about my experiences. Y'all know that I love food around here, so you get the scoop on London food, which is incredible. All of the amazing sites that we went to, just Everything London is going to be found in season 3, episode 7.
And next up, we have Croatia, which we had one of our repeat guests on, Jamie. She is our go to gal when we need some unique experiences. She talks all about having a goulette, which is like a type of boat, and sailing through different islands in Croatia. Also, Croatia by land, not just by sea. Croatia seems becoming really popular. I know the House of the Dragon season 2 is out, so Croatia's getting some more attention because of that, and it's just a location that a lot more people are interested in going to. So there's a lot of great information in season 3, episode 8.
And last but not least for Europe is Portugal and the Azores. This was also a season 3 episode. It was incredible. The Azores is not a location that you hear about too much. And then Portugal is one of those countries that I feel like is not everybody's first choice, but that sounds absolutely magical. Like the culture and the old history that is not necessarily in different textbooks, and the beautiful landscapes and everything. So if you're interested in Portugal and the Azores, check out season 3, episode 10, which was with Allie's parents, actually, Todd and Nikki Bensley.
Yeah, that wraps up Europe. And moving along here to Asia. I don't know about you, Regan, but I was very surprised by how many Asian countries we had, because it didn't seem like we had talked about that many. But then I was breaking it down. I was like, oh my gosh, we have covered a lot.
Yeah, it's been great. And we want to get to every single country. So if you don't hear a country mentioned here, please reach out and be a guest if you have experience there, because we always love to learn about new places, and we just want to fill the map with like colored in with for all the destinations that we cover here on our podcast.
Yeah, we would love for you to be a guest. But let's go over Asia, and maybe you can add to this for your own experiences. So, starting off strong here with Japan, we had a really fun guest on here, another one of Regan's coworkers, who shared about her time living in Japan. So, that was a really unique perspective, an American living in Japan, and that is season 2, episode 9.
Then we have Taiwan, a teeny tiny little country, one that you might not even know about, but that sounds beautiful and amazing. And we had Allie's friend Shannon on to talk all about Taiwanese culture and Taiwanese traditions and the beauty and everything to do with Taiwan. That'll be season 2, episode 21.
Next up, we have India, which this was a fun one. There's 2 episodes. One was with McKenna, and she got to go to an Indian wedding. So that was a big highlight of her episode, at least for me. That was really cool to hear her experience with that. So you can get a lot of information on India in season 2, episodes 23 and 39.
And then we have Kabul, which blows my mind. Like, this is like not a destination that you tend to think about, but this was an incredible episode, some incredible stories, some great storytelling coming out of this episode with Jamie Bowman, who is an author and who wrote an entire book on her experiences in Kabul. Her work took her there, so that's also an interesting perspective of like work taking you to places and what that kind of means, work being the kind of vehicle for travel. And if you're interested in that, that would be season 2, episode 37.
Then next up, we have Nepal. We had Tony Fletcher, who shared about trekking through Nepal. So that's a big place for people to do some different trekking, whether that be small mountains, Everest Base Camp, climbing to Everest, whatever you may feel is appropriate for your hiking style. Tony does not climb Mount Everest, just to let you know it's not that crazy. But he does have some really great information about traveling to Nepal in season 2, episode 39.
And then we have Jordan and Oman. This is crazy to me that we have all these destinations. And thank you so much to our guests who brought us to this point. It's just been amazing to learn about places that are really a little challenging to get to, but that kind of motivate me to want to get there. So Jordan and Oman, if you are interested in learning more about these places that you may not have heard of, but that sounds spectacular, that just sounds so different. If you want a different kind of experience that puts you out of the kind of westernized vacation, take a look at season 3, episode 5, and that was with James Hammond of the Winging It podcast.
Yeah, and if you're into other travel podcasts, go check out his podcast too. He has some really great episodes on there. But now we're moving along to Africa. Wah, 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 we have nothing.
That's not entirely true.
Technically we have mention of Tanzania in an episode with Jamie Edwards, which we'll kind of cover in our next section after we figure out all the continents here. But if you've been to Africa, let us know if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast. We would love to hear about your experiences, whether it even just be like a missions trip. I know a lot of people go there for mission trips or whatever. We want to hear your stories, and so do other people. So don't be afraid to reach out. I promise we're not scary. A lot of our guests, I don't want to toot our own horn, but a lot of guests say, oh my gosh, I love being a guest on your podcast. You're so nice. You're relaxed. And we are exactly that. We are low pressure, just here to get the word out about different locations. And we are relaxed, here to have a good time. We're not like super like professional in the sense that you need to be a podcaster or have podcast experience. So if you want to be a guest on the podcast, especially if you want to have anything about Africa, let us know.
Yeah, there are so many incredible cultures in Africa that we have not even touched the surface of, and I'm really excited to hear about it. So yes, I echo everything Allie says. Well then I guess that leads us to Antarctica, which you might be surprised to hear, but yep, Antarctica is becoming a major hotspot for travel, and it kind of makes me nervous because I don't want it to be super touched. And we do talk about that in this episode. We have Antarctica with Jamie Edwards, season 2, episode 41, and she talks about sea kayaking and whales breaching as she's doing that, and like seeing different animals, and so much information for this magical destination. You don't want to miss that.
Yeah, and then moving on to Australia, we had actually an Australian couple, and they were absolutely hilarious. Leanne and Lyle, they are a hoot. So they were really fun. They shared a little bit about their own travels in Australia / New Zealand. We'll throw New Zealand in there with Australia. And you can find some information on Australia and New Zealand in season 2, episodes 19 and 35.
Yeah. Oh man. Shout out to Leanne and Lyle of Beach Travel Wine Podcast. They were fantastic. Had some of the best stories. Yeah, definitely go check that out. All right. And then that kind of covers the continents, at least. But we do have a lot of other episodes that either were just topical and were something along the lines of like traveling with kids, or like whatever the other topics are for modalities of travel, things like that, or that were kind of cross-continental. So we're just going to hit you with some more of those kind of things, starting off with cruising. And cruising is a big topic. It's one of those things that is a really easy way to see a lot of places. Like I'm going on a cruise around like the Mediterranean this summer. It's just a great way to see a lot of places. It's a great way for families to connect and just easily kind of have time together. But then also if you need time like to be separate and go your own way, cruising is an amazing way to do that. So you can learn all about cruising in a 2-part series going all the way back to season 1, episodes 2 and 3. And actually, I am also going to throw in here season 3, episode 6, if you want to learn more about a transatlantic cruise, which is daunting.
And I apologize in advance for those episodes. They have really great information, but those are like some of our first episodes. So if those are the only episodes you check out, maybe look at some other ones too. We've gotten better over time. At least I'd like to think so.
It's true.
So moving on, cruising is really great for families, but we do have episodes specific on family travel. So we have the importance of family vacations, season 1, episode 13. Family Travel with Todd Bensley, season 2, episode 15. Family Travel with Jamie Edwards, season 2, 43. This is one I was talking about that had talks of Tanzania, and she did a safari with her kids, so that was really cool. Whereas the episodes with Importance of family vacations and the episode with Todd Bensley are more of like the family vacations those people went on and their experiences, which are still great. But just wanted to give you a little nod there to the Tanzania episode in case you're looking for that. That would be season 2, episode 43. And traveling with kids, this was a really great one. Regan's mom and sister who has 4 kids. Regan's one of 3, so they've had their fair share of traveling with kids. They came on and did an episode, and we have a little bit of a bonus content episode because there was so much good information. We did not want to cut anything out. So if you're traveling with kids and want some really great useful tips, you can check out season 1, episode 17, and then we actually have one labeled like bonus content. It's somewhere around season 1, episode 17. So go ahead and check that out.
Yeah, and for some people, the family unit is more like a couple. Like I know right now, I am a couple. I don't have kids, and Allie's a couple. She doesn't have kids. So that might be a special topic for you of like, what does it look like to just kind of have a little bit more of that flexibility? And you can find that information in season 2, episode 17, where our husbands actually join us, and they were a hoot, sharing their stories and their perspective on what travel means when they're not so like closely invested in the planning, but what it means to them to be able to travel as a couple.
Yeah, and our husbands didn't really travel much growing up, so kind of their perspective on coming to families and having wives who have traveled so much growing up, just a unique perspective on that, because I think so many people are actually in that situation where maybe they haven't traveled a lot growing up, so now they're kind of navigating themselves or with their significant other. But another really interesting one that we had was let genealogy be your guide. We had some guests come on who were really passionate about their genealogy and doing research on ancestry and kind of taking that information and going back to their roots. So that was a really unique episode. I don't think a lot of other travel podcasts don't really touch upon that. So that's a really unique one that we had the opportunity to share with all of you. So let genealogy be your guide if you're interested in genealogy travels and how you can take your genealogy and create a trip. That would be season 2, episode 7.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, I mean, if you've been here for any amount of time, you know that I love food, that we love food. Allie's loving the desserts. Like, it's just like, we know food here, in other words. And one of the episodes where we specifically just talk about food the whole time is Exploring the World Through Food and Gratitude. And that was season 1, episode 27. It was around Thanksgiving. So it was very kind of serendipitous that we would be talking about food and gratitude. And we just talk about so many of the amazing foods that we've eaten while traveling. I think we each did a top 10. So there's a lot of content there. If you are just looking for something to like satisfy that need to hear about amazing food around the world, definitely check out season 1, episode 27.
Yeah, and completely moving in a different direction here, we have Digital Nomad. We had Deannie Hall join us from Well She's Away pod. She's a podcaster as well. And she shared about her experiences solo traveling as a female, all throughout the world, staying in hostels and different romances she's had through her travels. So that was kind of like more of like a dreamy podcast into the digital nomad life, but also being realistic with those experiences that you might have as a digital nomad. And that is season 2, episode 5.
And then we have something really, really specific called the Mongol Rally. And this starts in Europe and goes through Asia, like all the way across Asia. It's really crazy. And you are in a car and you have to like, the car has to have certain standards and it's insane. I don't know all the ins and outs because it's just like, what is happening, but you get to go and see the amazing countryside that you wouldn't otherwise see in this really unique way. And Scott Gurian of the Far From Home podcast joins us to talk about his experience doing this, which is so unique. So if you're interested in that, that's season 3, episode 2.
So next up, we have Dreaming of Summer Travel, which is perfect for this time of year. This is actually an episode Regan and I put together in season 1, episodes 14 and 15. Basically, we walk you through some of our thoughts of how to pick a destination, plan things, look for the best deals, places that you might be interested in going. So this is a really great starting point in case you are at that point that you are dreaming of summer travel or really just travel in general. These ideas and tips can be put into play any time of year, but we just have it specifically dreaming of summer travel because it was in preparation for summer travel. So again, that is season 1, episodes 14 and 15.
And we're just going to round this out with some really great travel stories. If you are looking for a story to listen to on your morning commute, these next 6 episodes are going to be your go-tos. They're incredible. We had some amazing guests come on. Season 2 really was focused on storytelling and the stories that come by traveling and through traveling. So if you're interested in something like that, we have Real Men Go Traveling, which was with our dads, and that was season 1, episode 16. We have Steve Silverman, some of the most amazing travel stories you might ever hear and transformative travel stories. Steve is from the World Gone Good podcast. He was an amazing guest, so you can check out season 1, episode 25. We also had travel stories with Trisha, and this was like midnight pasta and TV tapings that were unexpected and things like that. There were some crazy stories going on here. So you can check out season 2, episode 3. Allie and I shared some of our favorite travel stories from over the course of our lives in season 2, episode 11. Juliana Joyce, who also did an episode on Italy for us in season 1, came back to talk about her time in El Paso, Texas, in Atlanta, Georgia, in Italy, a little bit more Italy, in Music as the Universal Language, which was season 2, episode 13. And then finally, Kristen and Carol from the Where Next podcast came on to talk about so many of their awesome travel experiences, all the way from Colorado to Bali. So that was season 2, episode 29. And yeah, I think that just about wraps it up for all of our episodes and this link tree.
Yeah, one other thing I want to note too, maybe you're finding our podcast and you're not like really into the travel genre. We do have season 2 episodes. We have Wildcard Wednesday, and that's a fun little way. Maybe you're wanting to get to know us more too. That's a really fun way to get to know us, just kind of be more of like a casual podcast if you're not completely into travel. We talk about our worst date stories, our engagements. We talk about book recommendations. Okay, so there's a wide variety of topics. So if you're looking to get more from us other than travel, that is a really great thing too. That is season 2 only though. So if you're interested in that, check out season 2, the Wildcard Wednesday episodes. And just want to say thank you so much to all of our guests that have been on our podcast. You have been wonderful. We couldn't do this without you. I mean, we've done a lot of traveling ourselves, but we haven't been to some of these unique destinations. So thank you to all of our guests, whether we found you on Podmatch or Instagram or through a friend or work. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And to our future guests, we can't wait to hear your incredible stories. Like I said, we will not bite. Please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you, whether you want to connect with us on social media or email us, or if you're interested in a Podmatch, like I said, we'll leave the link to that in the description so you can get a hold of us there. But you do not need to use Podmatch to be a guest on our podcast. That's just something, if you're interested in earning a little bit from that, that's another great way to do that.
Yeah. That about covers it. We can't wait to see where we go next with Wanderlusting Wives until next time. And yeah, we're going to take a couple of weeks off here, but we're going to be back with some amazing guests in a few weeks. And until then, we hope you enjoy your summer. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. Come escape with us again every other Tuesday for Travel Tuesdays.
Don't forget to give us a subscribe and a follow on all of our social media and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until next time, wander on.